Dave, we had already recorded a segment with Jim Ross that we're going to play here in a little bit, talking about Danny Hodge. And as we were preparing to come back with some news after that segment, we saw on Twitter the news that the John Huber, who is Brodie Lee on AEW, passed away because of a lung ailment.
This is so tragic. I don't even know how to talk about this. But yeah, I had no inclination of anything. I was really worried about something, but I didn't know what to be worried about when I saw the thing last week with his son, Brodie Jr., and Kenny Omega. Basically, at the TV taping, Kenny had, they introduced Brodie, and Brodie came out, the son, and pinned Kenny, and they gave him the AEW championship and everything. And I knew that was bad. And, obviously I didn't know what was going on with John, because it was one of those things where everybody, the few people who knew, and it was only a few, I think, had been keeping it quiet. Everyone knows I've been asking, and people have asked me about it, and it's like I've been asking, and I didn't know what it was, but it was, but he had this lung ailment for a long time. When he first was off, they were selling the injury, from the Cody match, and I guess it was at somewhere shortly after when he first got this, and it just got worse and worse, but people were aware. I mean, it's not like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like this was something that was sudden. It's something that something terrible that he's been dealing with since, we started asking the questions, back months ago when people started noticing that he wasn't there. So, man, unbelievable. This is the worst week. I'm just going to tell you, this is the worst week. Oh my God.
I saw a note that was written by his wife, and she made it really clear that this was not related to COVID-19. This was something that he was dealing with separate, not related. So this lung issue.
It was not. Yeah, it was not COVID. Right. It was a lung issue, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure more information will come out, but it's kind of crazy that, in such a short time, when they sort of figured out what was going on and how he needed time off, and then he needed the help, and then to now, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I guess it got worse and worse. Chris Harrington has got to be devastated because they're like childhood friends, I think. I know that they're best friends, and had been for a long, long time, both from Rochester. And, I didn't even know how to take this. John's a great guy, just a great guy. Idolized Bruiser Brodie, obviously. Through the whole thing of him leaving, WWE and going to AEW and everything, he's, he had a lot of questions, and, really, I think that what ended up happening was, he having kids and everything, it was like he was really making good money. I mean, he made good money with AEW too, but, it's like you don't want to leave a guaranteed contract, but he just felt very unfulfilled, and it wasn't going to change, and, Vince made the calls that Vince made. I don't want to act like Vince is a bad guy or anything, because Vince, listen, has nothing to do with Vince, but, and he just wanted to leave, and she wanted him to be happy. And, and then look, he had a great job in AEW, and he was, obviously put in a very good position. The idea was, the idea of his character was based on Bruiser Brodie, because the idea of the intelligent monster, which was the Bruiser Brodie character in Japan. So it's like this guy who who looks like that, but is actually like really intelligent. He is really intelligent, and that was the idea of him, with leading the Dark Order and everything. And they were, oh God, those guys too, because they did all those sketches and everything. They were really starting to pick up. I'm at a loss in so many ways for this one because again, he's a young guy and he was a good guy. He's a good guy. He was a hardworking guy. Underutilized in WWE, obviously, and showing that he was underutilized. And everybody in AEW, everybody liked him. He was just, oh my God. So.
John Silver tweeted to one of the worst days of my life. So just like you said,
the worst week of my life. I think this is the worst week of my life. Between that and everything, what a horrible week. And Danny Hodge dying, who's an icon to me, Danny Hodge is like an icon of wrestling. You think of wrestling and amateur wrestling, pro wrestling. As far as like a guy, except I guess maybe Kurt Angle, when you talk about like an amateur champ, as far as an American amateur champion and an American pro champion, it's like Danny Hodge is the guy. There's others, like Vern Gagne and people like that were, and you could say more successful as pros, but Danny was a different level. Vern Gagne was a great amateur wrestler. Kurt Angle was a great amateur wrestler. Lesnar, and you can go on. Jack Briscoe, the list is long. But Danny was Danny's a different level. Danny, was maybe the best wrestler. It's hard to say because he didn't win the gold. He won the silver, but he was up 8-2 in the gold medal match, and he was in control, and he rolled through and was considered, one of the worst calls in history, where he ended up getting the silver medal. He rolled through and they counted a pin while he was totally in control of the guy. It was, but he was like a different force in wrestling. Just so dominant, and more than more than Gable, even more than Kale, and then he went on to be a great pro wrestler. And there's all the Danny Hodge stories, and JR later we'll talk about those stories. And JR, he was instrumental in JR's life, especially breaking into the business and everything when people were trying to pick on JR and everything. And, Danny was his, the guy who was his buddy from day one in the business. And, you can't pick on JR because you can't pick on any, Danny was the baddest of the bad, even though he wasn't a big guy, he was the baddest of the bad. Luthez said it, and everybody said it, and Jack Briscoe said it, and these were incredible wrestlers. Tim Woods, who was another incredible wrestler. They all, Tim Woods actually, did you ever see the movie Vision Quest by any chance?
Mm-hmm. Long time ago.
Right. So Tim Woods was 191, and he wanted, like everybody when Danny Hodge was wrestling after his sophomore year, in his junior and senior year, pretty much all the way Danny Hodge wrestled 177s, I think, or 174, whatever the weight class was. I think it was 177, but all the 177s went to 191 the last 2 years because it was just like, you know what I mean? It's just like, he was the one guy. Even like with Kale, people didn't run away from the weight class. Danny, they ran away from the weight class at the Nationals and the AAU Nationals and in Greco. He won in Greco. He won in freestyle. He won in folk style. He's just like Carellin almost. Carellin was only Greco though, but it was just like, he was just this force. And then, so Tim Woods was the one guy who he was like 191. He wanted to go to 177. This would be after collegiate. Danny would have been, and actually challenged Hodge, but Hodge like there was a tournament. It would have been Hodge's last tournament, but he just started boxing and he didn't go into the tournament. And Woods had actually dropped because he really wanted to try Danny Hodge on because Woods was great too. And the thing was, so Woods drops, and then Danny doesn't come, and then all the 191ers, 191 guys, all of a sudden decide they're going to cut to 177, like literally like the 5 days before the tournament when word's out that Danny's not coming. So I mean, it's like those stories. There's just endless Danny Hodge stories. So, but this John Huber, God damn, this is so devastating. I think everyone's going to be. I don't know. This is the worst.